Laura, thank you so much for joining us on the live.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for asking me to join you today.
Yeah, of course. So, anybody that doesn't know Laura, she's amazing. You're my favorite page. You always have been for like years since I discovered you. My husband loves your page. You're so funny
Your
and
husband loves my
real.
page. I didn't know that.
I'm like, look what Laura did. Look at what she did. And we watch. You're so funny.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I know I guess he's my husband now. But yeah, my husband knows all about you too because I'll be like, Jill this, Jill that. He like knows like three of the people I follow as if they're like my real friends. But I'm like, they are my real friends.
Totally. And one day we'll all meet.
Yes, 100%. I can't wait.
So I wanted you to come on here because we're talking this month about socializing without drinking. And I feel like you have a ton of experience with that, both with like being around a lot of alcohol and, having drinks around you and going to a lot of different things, having parties at your house. So I thought that you would be the perfect person to talk to about this.
Yeah, I love it. I actually just had a game night party type thing in my house on Friday, and I invited a new friend over, and he like knows I'm sober, so he came over, and I was like, beer, wine, mocktail, and he's like, I didn't expect you to have beer and wine in your house, and I was like, sure do, like we have like serve all types here, and it was just like really funny to see his reaction. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't get there overnight, but 100% very comfortable with it now.
Was that hard for you in the beginning, like to be around? Like, did you feel tempted at all?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it for sure was hard for me because I really struggled with like that poor me, like, I'm like FOMO, and you kind of feel like it's not fair. It seems to you at that time that like you're the only person who can't control their drinking. It seems like everybody else who's drinking is like in control, and so you just assume they are, and it just feels super unfair. And I think that in and of itself is a bit of a trigger. But yeah, it was tough for me to be around alcohol or people drinking. And I definitely had to create a lot of space around that or between myself and that kind of environment. But I knew also that I wanted to get to a point where it didn't bother me. And so it was like something I knew I wanted to work toward. But yeah, in the beginning, not easy.
Yeah, it was hard for me feeling that way, like I was the only one and like feeling so jealous of other people and like envious that they could drink and I couldn't and it made it hard to like go out. Did you ever have drink pushers when you started socializing without it?
Yeah, kind of. Because I worked at a restaurant when I first decided to quit drinking, and it's like rife with drink pushers, that whole industry. And I also had one friend who was kind of a drink pusher. She's actually still a really good friend of mine, but I knew she like was gonna miss her drinking buddy, and she kind of was a little bit of a drink pusher in the beginning, very much like the "why don't you just have one" kind of person. Yeah, and I was like, I don't think you understand, but yeah, it was one of those things, one of the elements I felt like I had to navigate in early sobriety for sure.
Yeah, that's hard working in the restaurant industry and having like it. I think what's hard is when everybody knows you as a drinker and then like all of a sudden you're just not.
Totally. And I think too, they're like, oh, if she has a drinking problem, does it mean I have a drinking problem? I think there's a little bit like of unwelcome mirroring happening there. And so I think that makes them feel a little bit uncomfortable. And so and they might not be ready to look at themselves in that light yet. So
Yeah, or worried that we're gonna judge them or like try to make people drink less or point out how much they are drinking and like we for the most part like we don't care.
yeah, but it's so funny. I was that person. I used to be like, oh, sober people, like they're judging me. And then I got sober and I was like, actually, I don't really care about people drinking. I mean, like to judge them, you know what I mean? And so yeah, it was just so funny because I'm like, oh, I was scared of the person I used to be.
Yeah, I was really judgy in the beginning. I used to go to bars, like restaurants. I wasn't just there for the bar, but I would go to restaurants and I would see people like crowded around the bar, and I'd be like, ugh, look at those drinkers. Like, look, they've had 2 drinks in the past hour and they're already going to get another one. Like, and I was so judgmental, and it helped me in the beginning, but
Yeah,
I was that person.
I think a lot of people go through that phase. Like, yeah, I think I know I went through like a judgy phase too, and I'm like, oh, like I've discovered, like I've seen the light, and that's poison, and blah blah blah. But also, like I think we needed it a little bit to prop our own selves up because we felt like we were missing out. But yeah, I think a lot of us go through that phase.
What helped you when you first started like trying to socialize with other people and be around it?
One of the things that really helped me was I would remind myself, man, okay, so it makes me think of this one specific incident. It was early in sobriety, and I was going to meet Carl's like group of best buddies, and they all drank, and I was like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to do this? Like I feel like drinking makes me like feel at ease and like makes me funny and all these things, and I was still kind of battling with those thoughts. And I remember I did like a little meditation before we left the house, but I also like remember I vowed to myself to be like, you're not going to drink, just focus on like truly connecting with them and like really listening to them and really being present with them. And if I'm truly present with them, then I won't want to drink as much. Like I kept telling myself that. And I remember being like really nervous on the way there. And then once we got there, I made myself like a mocktail or something. I think I brought something with me to drink, but being like really focused on listening to them and being super, super present, like is kind of like a weird, different type of buzz. Like, I don't know how to explain it. And it's only hard, like, I think when you're driving to a social gathering or maybe like the first 5 minutes, but once you find your flow, you're like, oh, this is actually not that bad. And then you just dive into the moment and it's like, it's fun and you find the space to have fun. And I think once you do that once or twice, you're like, oh, I can totally do this. And it gets easier and easier over time. But yeah, in the beginning, I think really like taking the time to set an intention for the party, reminding myself that it's not about drinking, it's about connecting with other people and then really focusing on making those connections and listening to people and like engaging with them really helped me get through those social gatherings in the beginning.
I think you made a really good point about how we should focus on like the other people. And you might think when you hear that, like, well, of course I do that. But when you're drinking, you're not. Like, we're just thinking like, oh, am I drinking too fast? When can I get the next drink? Is the bartender paying attention to me? How much are these people drinking? And can they drink faster? And, you know, so we're focused on that. We're not like the other people are just kind of a background, like accessory.
Totally. And I don't know, I feel like sometimes the connection is more authentic when you're not drinking. I don't know how to explain it. Like if you're like smashed, you're not really making authentic connections, but when you're sober, like it's as authentic as it can be. And you know, in the beginning, you're like maybe a little shy and awkward, but once you kind of find yourself in sobriety and ease up with yourself, because like us judging ourselves is like, I think what makes us awkward. But once we can move past that, connecting with other people is really easy. I mean, to think about how weird it was for me in the beginning and how easy it is for me now, it's just like total proof that it can be done and it happens once with time and practice, I guess.
When did you start getting comfortable with alcohol, like being in your house and at your parties?
Well, I have to say that I think I have an unfair advantage in this department. And I talked about this with finding myself sober. She's another influencer, I guess I'll call her, in the sobriety space. But we were both bartenders when we decided to quit drinking. And
True.
so I think there's a scientific term for that. Do you know what I think it's like called flooding, where you
I don't know.
Yeah, I remember like, cause I worked in the sheltering space and we would like immerse animals in a certain experience to get them used to that. So, and I think we called it flooding, but like as a bartender, I had to be around alcohol for my job. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be sober too. So I think it made me like, it helped me like lose like the charge that alcohol had in my life a little bit faster than I think maybe it might be for other people. But yeah, like I think, in the beginning it was hard for me I didn't want to be at parties and stuff. So when I realized I was ready to try to go to a wedding or baby shower and things like that, where I knew there'd be alcohol, but also it was like a life event that I wasn't going to miss. I think I would say maybe about 6 months to a year is about how long it took for me to start noticing that it was getting easier. Of course, like the more you do it, I think the sooner it happens. But also like the more work you're putting into your recovery makes it happen faster too. And I've seen this with other people that I've like seen in the recovery space or in my community. Like the ones who are putting in work and really healing, like tend to be unbothered by alcohol or alcohol advertisements and all that stuff sooner. So I think what it really comes down to is, I guess, the work you're putting into your recovery, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I will see people get really bothered by either like alcohol ads or some post that they see or like a reel that's promoting alcohol. And, if you're in a Facebook group, then everybody's like, why do you care? And I'm like, why are you letting this upset you? But I get it. And there is a lot of work that needs to be done where we don't feel that envy anymore, or like nostalgia maybe isn't the right word because it's not good memories.
Right.
What was that work for you? Like, what do you think helped you the most, like, let go of it?
Well, I knew I didn't want to be angry at alcohol forever. Like, I feel like people get stuck at being angry at alcohol and alcohol culture, like mommy wine culture. I think a lot of people fixate on. And I honestly, there is every reason to be mad at it, but I knew I didn't want it to like drain me of energy. Like the more I wanted to focus on the good out there, because I kind of, on a certain level, like believe that what you focus on is like what grows. And so I wanted to like nourish the good about sobriety rather than dwell on what I don't like about drinking culture. But yeah, for the work, as far as what the work looked like for me, it was connecting with other people in recovery, and so that I didn't feel as alone in this journey. It was definitely meditation, which was really interesting because I used to be like super anti woo-woo, anything woo-woo, and that included meditation. I thought meditation was like the equivalent of like burning things in the house and like all like, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, that's not for me. And then it ended up being a huge help for like creating that mental shift that I really needed. Gratitude practice was something that my sponsor had me do. And that really, I feel like really helped me rewire my mindset for the day. I did work a program, so I went to AA, and that helped give me structure and support. But for other people, I think that can look like therapy or like this, like the services that you offer. So it's really cool because I feel like there's so many options out there right now to find structure and support. But yeah, I think that the things that really were the game changer was finding a form of structure, because I was just kind of like trying to do it on my own, all willy-nilly. And then having support, is a game changer, because it can be a really lonely journey and you can feel really misunderstood in the beginning. Even if you have a lot of friends, like it's just different when you're being supported by people who understand what you're going through.
I like what you said about how you don't want to be angry at alcohol forever, because that's how I feel, but I've never like named it. But carrying that around all the time is really depressing and stressful, and that just allows alcohol to continue to take up your mental energy and your time when you're because it's literally everywhere. Like I was doing some Instacart shopping before this, and you add something ridiculous to your cart, like a yogurt, and it's like, would you like alcohol with that? It's like, no, I don't need alcohol with my yogurt Instacart. And like every page you click on, it's like sponsored at the top. And I could let that make me really angry, or I could just be like, man, that's dumb, and laugh at it like I just did now, like with the yogurt thing. But I think it's everywhere. Like you're going to see it when you're driving in your car, when you're watching TV, grocery shopping, on Instagram, like wherever you are, you're going to see like pro-alcohol stuff. And if we carry around that anger, it's really going to control us.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want alcohol. Like, being angry at alcohol is still giving it power. It's like, it's still taking up your energy. Like, I got sober so that alcohol could just stop taking up my energy, because it was like taking up all my energy. I was like plotting when to drink and getting the drink. But I'm like, I don't want to be angry at it. It doesn't deserve that from me, like, in a way. And so I knew I wanted to get to a space where I just felt neutral about it, where like it was like the equivalent to like looking at a lampshade, where I'm just like, whatever, like, you're dumb, like, and I'm moving on with my life. But of course, like, we're all human, and there's always going to be moments where you're just like, what the F? If like it like pops up on you like a Jack in the Box, and you're like, what the heck? And you know, it's always going to be some effed up stuff you see around that. But again, like how you were just saying, like, I don't know, like it popping up everywhere is like almost a joke, like, you know, and so you just have to, I guess, change the way you perceive it, and decide for yourself how much energy you're gonna still turn over to that space and to alcohol.
Did you expect sobriety to take up a lot of mental energy?
I did not. Well, I think in the beginning I knew it was going to be like a front-loaded situation. So it's like all consuming in the beginning, and then it would get easier. And that's just kind of what people told me. They're like, it gets easier over time. But I didn't expect to be in the sobriety space the way that I am, like on social media and stuff. But it's interesting because it doesn't, like, I don't feel like I'm giving alcohol power so much as I am like being of service. So it like energizes me, I guess, as opposed to like drains me. And so yeah, it's interesting. Like I don't think I expected the role that it would have, like recovery would have in my life at this point, but it's been like a really exciting and nourishing experience. So I'm going to roll with it.
That was hard.
Did you expect to have it be the way it turned out for you?
No, and that made it really hard. Around, I think I was like 18 months sober, and I was like, is this all there is for my life? I either have to think about alcohol 24/7, or I have to think about sobriety 24. I was like, that's not freedom.
Yeah.
And I got so upset over it, and like, you know, talked to my therapist about it, whatever. And yeah, same thing. Like, you're not thinking about alcohol all the time when you're thinking about sobriety. It's more like you're doing work on yourself, and it's just like focused on recovery. But it's just, everybody should do work on themselves at all times.
Exactly.
Ours just has like a label that maybe other people don't have, but yeah, so I ended up seeing it differently. But I was really depressed for a while. I thought, like, what, am I going to be 50 years sober and still have to think about sobriety every day?
I definitely think there's like a way of like looking at sobriety that's draining versus a way of looking at it that's energizing too. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But you know, like you always see people who are like, I can't like think about sobriety anymore, and they exit the sobriety space, and I totally get that too. Like sometimes you just like want to move on to a new chapter. So I understand that. But yeah, it is interesting to think about when you do.
Yeah, and something that I hear from some people is that they struggle with not drinking because they think they like themselves better when they drink and they're social. So it's not even like it adds a whole nother level to it. Like a lot of us drink to feel comfortable or to fit in or to relax, but there are some people that just think they are better when they drink. Did you ever like feel that way, or what would you say to those people?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I thought I was funnier. Another big block that I had too is I thought I was more creative because I was a writer and a creator back then, like working in journalism. And I was like so convinced that drinking, like I loved like going and working on an assignment with my wine. And that like was a really hard thing for me to let go of. It's like this like creative version of me who like drank wine and was creative. I thought it was more funny and more spontaneous. I mean, all the things that we think we like about ourselves, we assume that we need alcohol to like bring it out. But also like, I just had to believe that that was already a part of me and didn't rely on alcohol because alcohol also brought out some of the ugliest stuff in me. So I'm like, what is it? Like, do I, and I had to have faith that like that the parts of me that I liked were there. But it's hard in the beginning. Like you're like kind of awkward and gangly. You're like a 14-year-old like kid, like trying to like navigate the world. It's like you're going through that all over again and it's really uncomfortable. But it's so cool though to kind of watch who you become in sobriety and as you build your confidence and you start to see like this sense of humor come out and like I'm like just as creative if not more sober than I thought I was when I drank. So I truly believe that those parts of us are already there. And they come out with ease over time in sobriety as you gain confidence in sobriety. But again, I think that also comes back down to doing the work and healing. And because the more you like, as I put in work and I felt myself healing, it was like also came with like this interesting like joy and euphoria that you kind of like count on booze for too. Like there was a euphoria also in sobriety as you like heal and start to discover really exciting parts of yourself and your potential. So I always tell people like you got to be patient, but like be diligent, and you will be so excited by what you find out about yourself.
You said something like a long time ago when we first started talking that really helped me because I like romanticized alcohol a lot, and we were talking about how it enhances things and makes them appear better, and you were like, it does enhance them. And I forget, the rest of the context, but you helped me realize, like, it does. Like, it makes you think that it does, it makes it seem more fun. And, like, I'm not trying to fight anymore that, like, alcohol doesn't enhance things. I'm not saying this very well, but that was so helpful for me when we had that conversation. And you realize, like, with the enhancement in the beginning comes all the horrible stuff at the end, and you can't have one without the other. So you helped me like really accept that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I drank to enhance all the time. It was like, if it's a sunny day, enhance with wine. If I'm like happy because I accomplished something, like let's enhance this happiness. Like, and so at a point, it was literally more triggering for me to be happy than it was to be sad because I always wanted to enhance a good feeling. And so having to just accept that, like, that enhancement lasts, it's so fleeting before, like, you come crashing down. It's a tough pill to accept because we want to, like, hold on to that, like, euphoric moment. But again, like, in sobriety, especially over time, you realize that there's so many other ways to enhance your life outside of alcohol. And I think also that's part of what makes sobriety so exciting is you have all this time and space to discover new passions, new talents, new this, new that like, it's a whole new set of like things that you have to enhance your life and bring euphoria. And it's just like really, really exciting. And I think that's another reason why I don't mind being in the sobriety space today is because I'm like, I have so many new hobbies too in sobriety that I'm thinking about like, okay, I do my Sober Pal post in the morning, but then I'm like onto my job where I think about animals, and then I'm climbing, and like there's literally people in my life who don't even know that I'm sober because I like don't like blah, blah, blah about it all day long. So it's just like a slice of my life that like brings me joy, but there's all these other things that bring me joy too. So I think in sobriety, as you cultivate and foster this exciting life and this new version of yourself, you feel less of a need to enhance, I guess you could say, because it's already so awesome as it is.
Yeah, I love that. And of course you're going to want to enhance doing nothing.
Totally.
Like sitting at the bar, or, sitting and watching some stupid TV show. Like, of course you're going to want to enhance that. But when you're doing cool stuff that's actually fulfilling and fun, or hanging out with people that you enjoy, you'll feel it less. Like, you're not going to want to enhance climbing with alcohol.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like at one point I probably did, but again, over time, you feel less this compulsion to enhance things. Like, it's crazy. I just had my wedding like 2 weeks ago, and like everybody's like, of course you drink at your wedding. Like, that's the ultimate thing to enhance. And it's funny because I had like a mocktail bar at my wedding where we were serving like 3 really cool mocktails. And I was like, I'm going to get one of each mocktail at my wedding. And I was so like bubbly and in the moment and like flitting around saying, like talking to people, that I like forgot. Not only did I not like forget about alcohol, I literally forgot to eat, and I forgot to grab one of each mocktail because I was just like having so much fun. And like, there was nothing that needed to be enhanced in my wedding. Like, it was perfect. And I'm just so grateful to be at a point in my sobriety where I don't feel this need to enhance anymore, when at one point, like, a sunny day was like enough to send me barreling off the wagon, So it's just like wild to think about. But yeah, it's interesting.
It's funny. A sunny day is a good day to drink.
Yep.
A rainy day is
like cozy.
Any day.
Yeah, you're like, let me just get a little quilt and like sip on my wine. I mean, everything, like, I always wanted to like pair everything with a glass of wine. Like, so funny.
Yeah, and your wedding was beautiful, by the way. Like, the vows, I was like, oh, it was so amazing. I'm really happy for you. It was a really beautiful day.
Thank you. It was so perfect. And I'm sure like you noticed, but like I was in a bad place like the week leading up to it because of the wildfire smoke, and to the point where I had to take a break from social media because I was just like, I felt like I was trauma dumping a little bit on people.
Yeah.
And I just need to like walk away and like take some time, and it all came together beautifully. And I'm just so, so grateful. And I didn't drink through any of it, so I'm really grateful for that too.
Yeah, it was really beautiful, and I'm gonna do the same thing in 3 years when it's our 10-year.
Yes, 10.
Because I did enhance my wedding with alcohol, and it didn't enhance anything.
Now you know you can do it right this time. Let us know what the difference was.
Yeah, I will.
You'll be able to
Thank you so much for spending time with us and coming on here. I really appreciate it. I know like you're super busy right now, so I'm really grateful. If anyone wants to like connect with you or learn more about what you're up to, where can they go do that?
So people can find me at Your Sober Pal, the @ Your Sober Pal on Instagram or TikTok, and they can. I don't want to say DM me because I don't answer my DMs anymore, but like if they want to get in touch with me, they can email me at yoursoberpal@gmail.com.
Love it. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jill. I appreciate you.